Stores and businesses that are not continuing to evolve, they're getting left behind. I have a 20-year-old daughter, and she's throwing new apps and agents and things at me all the time, and change is scary. But if you embrace it, it works out way better for everybody involved.
Welcome to Demystifying Microsoft, a podcast by the SourcePath Center of Excellence for Microsoft. We believe Microsoft shouldn't be hard. Each week, we break down what's changing across the Microsoft ecosystem, help you solve your toughest challenges, and provide clear, actionable advice to keep you ahead of the curve. If you're responsible for Microsoft decisions and want clarity without complexity, you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Demystifying Microsoft podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Taylor, and today I'm excited to be joined by Brittney. How are you doing today, Brittney?
I am great. Thanks for having me, Nathan.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to nerd out on some interesting topics with you today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Brittney?
Absolutely. So, Brittney Saultman, I'm a partner profitability director with the Partner Masters. So, we're a business consulting firm that specializes in Microsoft partnerships. We work with technology companies similar to SourcePath to help them grow their Microsoft business, but also just unlock different incentives and funding that they can leverage with their customers to help them expand their technology needs.
Yeah, and you guys have been a great help to us on a number of fronts. Being a Microsoft partner is a daunting thing. There's so many wrinkles. Just getting through all the acronyms is like a full-time job. So we're very grateful for all the help. But today, I think we're going to talk about this wild world of AI and specifically all the fancy, cool new stuff Microsoft is releasing. But I want to start with a specific topic that we were talking about as we were prepping for this, which is everybody's talking about agents. Agents are going to take over the world, the agentic future, and agent this and agent that. But I even still personally wrestle with what is an agent? So, Brittney, let's start there. What is an AI agent?
It's a creation of different types of resources within Copilot. And so there's researcher, there's ones that integrate with PowerPoint, there's Copilot for sales. So there's a lot of different resources out there and available. And I think that is part of the problem with Copilot, if I'm being completely honest, because there's so many different agents and you as a customer and as a Microsoft partner have the ability to create agents of your own to help with different processes internally or processes with your customers, that there's a lot of overwhelm in the community. And I shared with you, I went to a recent Copilot event with a number of customers. And we were discussing agents in particular. And we were at dinner and he whips out his phone and he's like, well, look at all of these different agents. How do I know what to use? What is going to help my business? Is there a way that I can know what each one of these does? The answer is yes, there is a way for you to know which each one of those does. Would it be very cumbersome to go through and try them and read about all the different agents? Yes, it would. And so I don't advise any of our customers or our partners to start leveraging Copilot in that fashion. I think that if you're going to properly implement Copilot within your organization, you need to start with your goals or your problems. I don't like to call them problems. I like to call them opportunities, right? We don't have problems in our companies. We have opportunities. And so if you start with what your goals are, so your goals could be to be more profitable as an organization. Okay, well, what is your current profitability and what types of things are stopping you from becoming more profitable? And then once you identify that, you then take it back and identify what things you can create agents for, you can create automation for, to solve those problems and increase your profitability. But if you start shopping agents like you're at an auto store, or that's what he used. If I want a tool for my car, and I'm like, no, that's not the right way to approach the implementation of Copilot, in my opinion. And I've seen quite a few organizations do it successfully. And I've seen quite a few organizations not successful in implementing Copilot.
I like your push there. I think agents is this big buzzword. It can mean a bunch of different things. You were talking about the pre-built agents. There's now an agent store. Lots of different orgs have different agent stores now. And I think the reality is, I love your approach. What's a problem that you think AI could help you with, or something you want to automate? Really, a lot of these are coming through as automation scenarios. Is there a business process maybe that's not efficient? Great example is Cowork's really a neat capability in Copilot Frontier. If you haven't played with it, it's worth playing. I know you got a couple things to share on that, but for me, it does a couple things. One is it goes through and I have it scheduled to review my meetings for the day and prepare me for my meetings. And that's really helpful because oftentimes I'll get to a meeting and I go, I'm trying to remember the context of this meeting. And I can just pull open that email I get sent every morning and go, oh, that's right. Correlated the details of the couple emails this is in response to. Something that's not a big deal, but it makes me more efficient, or helping me triage my mailbox. Or I know a coworker who used it to take some of the Microsoft documentation and built an agent that would just answer questions on a specific set of documentation. Here's this data. AI agent, you're now the expert on this topic. So answer questions, like stuff like that, where you're solving a problem. So it really comes down to solving that problem or looking for that opportunity. I think that's a really great approach. You got some examples of things you've helped people with on that, right?
So we created a platform that our clients leverage to look at different data, trainings, all kinds of things. But the problem is it's overwhelming. There's a lot of content. And so we have an agent that they can type in what they're looking for, and it will bring up all the different content from all the different locations that we have on the platform. So that's a really big one. Another one that I really like to use is a pre-built agent called Researcher. And so as we're onboarding new clients, I look them up and see what all that information that I can come to the first call prepared. And so gone are the days of Googling and clicking on various links and looking for all that. I feel like if anybody tells me I Googled something, I'm like, you what? I'm sorry. Like, we co-pilot things here. So those are just two of my favorite agents. But we've implemented Copilot everywhere in our organization. So we use Copilot for sales, which I think is really neat. So when a new customer client comes in and we want to get them access to the platform that I mentioned earlier, it automatically, if we click on our Copilot for sales, it creates an instance of the customer within our internal CRM, which is Dynamics. And then it allows us to automatically give them access to that platform that I mentioned, all within a couple clicks, which I know it's okay. That might save you 10 minutes, big deal. But when it saves you 10 minutes every single time across all of your delivery resources, all those little things really start to add up and make a big difference. And so we've seen that firsthand where our delivery resources were able to double the size of their portfolios because of all of the different ways that we've started leveraging Copilot and automation within our organization. Did it happen overnight? No. This isn't like a one-hit wonder where all of a sudden everything's turned on and working properly. But in the course of 2 years, we've doubled. That's huge for our profitability. And we're not stopping there. We're only getting stronger. And as Copilot continues to get stronger as well.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that because I think we both had early access to Copilot. We got into the early access program and used it from the day it was launched in the commercial space for small business. And it added some really cool stuff early on, but there were definitely some gaps early on. And I know you've mentioned that in some of our conversations that early days, there were just things that just felt broken and frustrating and inconsistent. And it's been improving over time. But I would say in the last 3 to 4 months, it's improved dramatically. So tell me your thoughts on what you've seen change and what is improved in the Copilot space from your experience.
Absolutely. So one of the big ones, obviously, is Cowork. Has completely transformed. There's way less hallucinations, way less errors or issues when you're trying to create PowerPoints or do different types of pivots or views in Excel, which I always found really, really difficult 2 years ago when Copilot was first available. Everyone was, I don't know how to do this, right? It's going to take me more time to figure out how to use Copilot than to just do the old pivot table. But that's not the case anymore. It's honestly, I am shocked by what my team is doing with Cowork. Just the reporting that they've been able to put together without doing X lookups and V lookups and all these massive pivot tables. But then also the ability to personalize your Copilot. I don't know if you've done that, but so amazing. A lot of times when it's brand new, you have like all those little emojis that they put. And so you can tell it, like, don't do that. I don't want emojis. I only want factual information. Write it this way. And it continues to learn your behavior and how you use Copilot to enhance both your productivity and its output that it's sending you. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, I do too. I think those capabilities are massive. I think my favorite frontier feature, it's been the inclusion of Work IQ, which is Microsoft's underlying data layer, where Copilot just has a better understanding of me, of what I'm doing every day. It just knows my context, my emails. You're talking about researcher. The power of researcher is not only that it can go do all that, maybe Googling you would have done of like public records and websites and news articles and that sort of thing, but it also knows all your email and your teams and your recent documents. So it pulls it all together into one cohesive thing. But that understanding of me through Work IQ is a big deal because I found it understanding our branding. It's understanding our messaging. And so I find that it answers things knowing, oh, I know you're asking this question in the context of your podcast. In the past for the podcast, things have happened this way. Sometimes it doesn't even ask. It just fills it out in the way I've seen it before, aligning with our messaging. And just, it's really amazing how intuitive it is with some of those things because it's starting to learn who I am and how I want to interact with things.
I had someone tease me the other day and they said, at what point will Copilot know you better than your spouse? I'm like, well, that's that's a good question, honestly, because we spend so much time working. It's monitoring our behaviors. And I know that a lot of people are afraid of it, but why? It is completely transforming our ability to work and be more productive. And there's a lot of people going on and on about wanting 4-day work weeks. Maybe Copilot is our answer to that. If we can get the same amount of productivity done in 4 days that we were in 5, maybe that's the solution, right?
Maybe it is. It would be awesome to go to 4-day weeks. I'm of the opinion that I think we got a lot of productivity boosts from COVID. Go working from home, remote meetings. I think we got a lot of productivity boosts. And I don't think anybody got less work. I think we just realized we could do more and we're just trying to do more. And I think AI is just going to fall into that. It's just going to make you more efficient. And hopefully it starts to allow us to focus on the things where we add value. You know, I heard a leader talk about the other day and a leadership podcast I was listening to. He said, hey, I figure out the things that only I can do and try to focus on those. And things other people can do, I try to delegate those. And I think that mindset's necessary for a Copilot world. Hey, you just got another coworker. What can you delegate to them and what can't it do that only you can do? And can you start to think through your day and split those things up? I'm afraid I don't think Copilot can attend all my meetings for me, but it can attend some of them and give me the recap, which is great. So what are some other fun things you've done with Copilot or opportunities you see in the Copilot space?
I see people fail with Copilot and I see people with a lot of success. I definitely think that it's almost made an assistant for everybody, like an executive assistant for everyone. You talked about it joining meetings. Gone are the days of taking notes during your meetings. You get to be fully present and listening to everything. Because if you're sitting there taking notes, then you're not listening, right? You're thinking that you're taking notes of what just occurred. And so now I don't have to do that. You can use it not just to recap, but create follow-up emails for you, schedule things. My team, and I don't know how they've done this. I honestly should ask them, but anytime I send them a meeting invite, I get an alert that said Copilot auto acceptance. And so they've set it up so when they get meeting invites from me, it automatically accepts them. They just are like, hey, Brittney's sending me a meeting. I'm going to accept it. It seems minor, but again, all those little things continue to add up and change the way that you work and how you continue to scale your business. I want to say probably my favorite feature, and this is going to make me sound very unorganized, but my favorite feature is that finding things for me because we're getting information from so many different places. We're getting it from Viva Engage, we're getting it from Teams, we're getting it email, on calls. And a lot of times I can remember, okay, such and such, this person said something along these lines, or there was a document that was shared a couple months ago that aligned to this. I couldn't tell you where to find it at this point because it's something that was kind of a one and done. Well, now it's come up again. And so when you switch to Copilot Work, it analyzes everything. It's found conversations between me and my leader from like a year and a half ago. It was a Teams conversation, but it had information in it that I needed and I needed to reference back. And I was just blown away. I would have never found that before Copilot.
Yes, I agree. It's amazing how it can search some of that contextual stuff. It's great. Let's talk about one thing I am hearing in the space, which is obviously Anthropic is just making a lot of waves right now. Here we are, almost June of 2026. And I think Anthropic just seems to have taken a lead in the AI space. And I'm thrilled to see Microsoft signing these agreements and pulling their content in. I find the Anthropic models in Cowork are better than the ChatGPT models in general. Now, I'm a technical user, and I think they lean towards the technical side. But when I have a choice, I'm almost always switching to the Anthropic models. Obviously, the Cowork functionality that we're both using a lot of is a Anthropic feature that Microsoft has adopted. So I love that Microsoft's taking that position. But as people look at these other companies that have other AI tools, what are some of the arguments for staying within the Microsoft ecosystem? Because I think there's a lot of people evaluating, well, why would I use Cowork versus go pay for Anthropic small business product or ChatGPT or some other third-party tool? What are some reasons that we should really consider staying with the Copilot model?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up because it's all the integration. It's pulling from, and it's looking at your behavior, like we just talked about. It's pulling from documents internal. And so there's a lot of security risks to other models, right? The free models that you have to be aware of. And a lot of organizations are unaware of the security risk because if someone innocently asks a question, right, they're putting that information out there for anybody else to access. Now, with Copilot, that's not the case. You have more control over the security of the information. And in fact, that's like the biggest push right now. And so I see a lot of customers say, we're not ready for Copilot because our security, our data needs to be cleaned up or our security needs to be better. And that's okay. It's also highlighting these are business problems that you have to solve for. And so get your security because it shouldn't just be about Copilot. It should be about not having some sort of breach, right? And so it's highlighting those. But yeah, I think that is the biggest thing is just the integration and everything. Like I said, Copilot for sales, you can use an Excel, PowerPoint, you can put your branded templates into PowerPoint. So Copilot does everything in your branding. Just the customization features and the security, I would say, are probably my top rebuttals to, hey, I get free access of this. And I'm like, well, free's not always better. Like sometimes you get what you pay for.
We get free access to Copilot in our 365 tenants. You've got Copilot chat for all your 365 users. It may not be all the fancy Copilot for 365 features we're talking about here with Cowork and some of those deeper integrations. But if you just have users who just want to ask questions of AI, Copilot chat's included with all 365, and it includes those enterprise data protections you talked about of Microsoft promising they won't be training on your data. It's staying in your tenants. It's not getting fed to those models. I think that's a big deal. I think the subtle thing that's going to come up, especially in more regulated environments, is e-discovery and auditability of what's happening with your AI, with your models, with your chats, with your agents is something that the other players are going to struggle to put in place where Microsoft already built that infrastructure. It's using Purview and e-discovery and all those things are already built into Copilot. And Agent 365 is adding all that auditability and e-discovery into that as well. So I think that's a big area where Microsoft may not always have the newest, latest, greatest feature that came out 2 days ago, but what they have is defensible and secure and private. And I think they're working really hard. I was impressed by how quickly they pulled in Anthropic's Cowork capability. It was only out for a couple of weeks before it was available on Copilot. So they're aware that they need to innovate and take advantage of these innovations in the market. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah, honestly, like if you're Copilot curious, right? And you want to roll it out at your organization. My advice to you is like any change at your organization, you have to force the behavior. You have to make sure that your team is actually leveraging it. There is the free version, of course. And I like to say, okay, start out with that. You're going to get some enhancements to using the free versions. But as you continue to scale it within your organization and do that adoption and change management, that's when you're really going to start seeing it move the needle and change the game for your organization. And yes, it might replace an executive assistant, but it's going to allow you to add other resources to your team to continue to scale and build your business. And so we've got to shift our mindset and say, hey, we're going to continue to evolve. I actually was having this conversation with some peers of mine earlier in the evolution of technology. I mean, back in the day, you'd have to go to a store and order your takeout or whatever the case may be, or your grocery. Now you can do it all from an app. And stores and businesses that are not continuing to evolve, they're getting left behind because now the newer generation, I have a 20-year-old daughter and she's throwing new apps and agents and things at me all the time. And they expect that. It's just really transformed. And they've gotten to the point where they're like, excuse me, I have to make a phone call. There's not an app that like I can just order this from and it get delivered to my door. And I realize change is scary, but I think that if you embrace it, it works out way better for everybody involved.
No, I think that's true. And I think there's just even a personal aspect of, I've talked about this many times. You will never understand the questions asked about AI unless you're using it. You almost have to expand your brain, build that paradigm of like, oh, I've used AI. I saw what it did there. I saw how it handled that. I wonder if it can do that. And that curiosity and that expanding of your understanding of how it can be used becomes critical for being able to ask the right questions around security or next steps or new ways to use it. You can't just jump straight to that endpoint. You have to build the mental construct to understand the technology.
Yeah, you have to know. And that's kind of how we started this call today, right? Is you have to know what you need it for before you just go shopping. You've got to kind of start backwards of what our normal adoption and change management motion is and start with your OKRs. Where are you going and how are we going to get you there? And how can Copilot help you get there?
I love it. All right, now it's time to put your crystal ball. We've got Microsoft Build next week. So we know there'll be some AI announcements, some Microsoft announcements. They always save up some of the good stuff for these big twice-a-year conferences, Build and Ignite. What's one prediction you have for announcement from Build? And secondly, what's a request you would love to have come out at Build?
I would like to see some more free access for adoption and change management and more like demo capabilities, which I just learned of. It's called Regal, which I think it might be a third party, and it's tailored to Microsoft partners right now. But I would like to see more of those demo access scenarios available to customers to try out, because I realize it is a big commitment and it does take that adoption and change management. So if we can get some more free, everybody likes free access, as long as it's secure, of course, like we talked earlier. And yeah, some more where you can plug and play and really try it. Because I learn by doing. And I think majority of the population is probably very similar to that. You nailed it a second ago when you said, like, you have to get in there and try it out. Like, you can't be scared of it. And so if we can get customers access to demo and do different things, I think that it would be a lot better for them to make the investment and start rolling it out within their organization.
That's awesome.
But what about you? I want to throw it back to you.
I am really interested in Agent 365. Seems to be something that they're really putting a lot of energy into. So I expect some cool stuff there. It's got a lot of promise of just, we talked a lot about agents. People are building these agents. It's exciting, but managing them at scale is a challenge. It brings in new problems we've not had to deal with before. I'm really curious to see what they build there. What I would love, if I could go speaking to my crystal ball, is one thing I wish Microsoft Teams and Copilot did better was to be able to understand my meeting series better and help me manage meeting series. Like if you get a weekly leadership team meeting, can AI be better about saying, hey, on last meeting, you talked about this, here's open items. almost that ongoing running agenda. You can build it, you can get there, but it's not intuitive yet. And I would love to see them make that more intuitive. One loop environment for this meeting series, an ongoing kind of agent that supports that meeting series, keeps track of agenda items and deliverables. I think that would be something I'd love to see. And maybe that's an agent I can build. Maybe that's something I can build out. That would be my one hope.
You have my wheels turning, like Copilot integration with Planner. And then it sends out your open action item reminders, that kind of thing. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely. It's fun to think about. I'm always learning from you, Brittney, on Copilot front. You're always dropping some new little bit of knowledge, even if it's just in passing. I go, ooh, I heard that. I see what you're doing there. So I appreciate you sharing some of this, and we'll look forward to having you back on to have a deeper conversation about other things you're doing, because I think you guys are pushing the envelope here, and it'll be fun to see what else you guys come up with.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. It's amazing working with your team. And likewise, I learn a ton. I'm not obviously a technical expert and business strategist, but it's just so amazing to see the new technology and how our partners are continuing to roll it out within their customer base. So yeah, pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Brittney, how can people keep on top of some of the stuff you're doing?
You can follow us at thepartnermasters.com. And if you're interested in any of the services that we offer, you can fill out a request to talk to someone on our team. We also do a live mastery call, Microsoft mastery call. So if you are in the partner ecosystem for Microsoft, you can follow us on LinkedIn and join those mastery calls completely free, where we talked about E7 recently. After Build, I'm sure we'll talk about the takeaways and the big announcements at Build. And then, of course, the Microsoft programs will be changing here shortly, and we'll have all kinds of things to talk about around those motions as well.
Yes, we will. Definitely a great follow on LinkedIn. Lots of good content you guys are putting out. So awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. And thanks for listening into the Demystifying Microsoft podcast. We look forward to catching you on the next one. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Demystifying Microsoft, brought to you by the SourcePath Center of Excellence for Microsoft. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen so you don't miss an episode. If you would like to talk to one of our Microsoft problem solvers, click on the link in the episode description or contact our team at sourcepathmcoe.com. Thank you.